that's one reason I like privacy at work or thing, because I can concentrate. If I'm trying to talk to you and look at this and write this, I mean, something's gonna suffer, yeah.
So if you had to choose between characterizing yourself as an optimist or pessimist, which one?
I don't want to do that. An optimist or pessimist. I want to say that oh gosh, I want to say that I'm an optimist.
Oh, you
Okay, I'm going to say it.
may. That works.
I'm very pessimistic about saying that.
So the follow-up question is, do you tend to put an excessive positive spin on situations in your life?
No.
Okay. What is emotional pain like for you? Is it something you can deal with or handle, or is it something you avoid?
Well, I would love, yeah, I'm going to avoid emotional pain if I can. But I don't know that emotional pain, because you don't even know it's coming. You can't avoid something that you usually, you can't prepare for emotional pain. And how I handle it usually is sleeping or taking something to calm me down. So unfortunately, I pray. I mean, of course, I go to the Lord with things that all the time. I pray almost, all the way to work, all the way home. And sometimes as my drugs are taking effect, as I'm going to sleep, I'm praying.
And so one of my questions is, do you tend to complete tasks? And I think that you have already answered
I do.
it. You do, exactly. And we talked about emotional pain. And well, the last question is, what happens when you experience limits and boundaries?
Well, I mean, when I experience give me an example.
When you're going forward, or when you're planning things and circumstances or situations don't allow you to go certain directions, what is your response to those limitations?
That I've anticipated that I am going to be able to do, and then I see that I'm limited in what I can do.
Yeah.
I guess it would be frustration.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated, and it would also, it's going to depend on the situation.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty aware of boundaries. I'm pretty aware of the boundaries that are there, and whether or not it's safe to cross them or not. I'm going to pretty much stay in the boundaries unless it's worth fighting for.
Right. All right, Linda, we are at a place now where we need to summarize what I've heard, what I'm thinking, and as I've been hearing you and listening to you, the words I've been hearing a lot is responsible and dependable. And so some of your actions are similar to other people, but what I'm hearing behind the things that you do is the overriding theme is responsible and dependable. Some of the things I'm considering as I'm listening to you is I'm hearing type 1, I'm hearing type 3, I'm hearing type 6, and I'm hearing type 8. Of those 4 types, I probably will not land on the 3, because the 3s, they are ambitious people who are task-oriented and love to get things done. But a lot of the reason, again, is a system of motivation. A lot of the reason behind the 3 is for getting feedback from people, and I didn't pick that up for you. The 6, but you can consider it. You can go and look at type 3 and see what you think. Type 6 are also very dependable people. They're very dependable people. But they seem to be, what I'm not picking up as much with them is they're fearful people as well. They're very mental and they're very fearful. And I pick up a lot of, there's a lot of courage in you. I don't pick up a lot of fear in you.
I don't.
But you can go and check out 6s if you want to. 8 is very close. These people are very justice oriented and very take charge. And so I think if I had to land between the 8 and the 1, I would definitely put you in that category of the gut, because a lot of the things, especially when you said, I know, you make decisions quickly and you know things, that's a gut triad. And so the 8 and the 1 are in the gut triad, and the 8 again is very concerned with justice, but their title is the boss, and I see you working alone more often than being in charge, even though you can be in charge. And so again, let me just tell you about the 1.
I would rather not be the boss.
That's right. So that's why if the type 1 would probably be one of the top choices, and they're called the perfectionist. And one of the things that they say about the 1s is let me just read you about what they call a brief description. They believe that they must be good and right to be worthy. Consequently, perfectionists are conscientious, responsible, improvement-oriented, self-controlled. Sometimes they are critical, resentful, and self-judging. Tell me about what you think about that kind of description.
I think that would be pretty good.
Pretty close?
Yeah. I would say that it's pretty accurate.
So it says that these types of people are stressed when they feel like they're not measuring up to their own standards. They feel stressed if they're unjustly criticized, and if things are done in the wrong way. They are stressed by unfairness. That's where,
very much.
Yeah, and for when important rules are ignored. And so, does that fit for you? Does that sound?
That's pretty close to, that's me.
Yeah, and that's called the perfectionist. And so if you want to do more study on this, I would give that some pretty strong consideration.
So what's the downside? What's causing me, being a perfectionist is hard.
It is downside. It's difficult for you. There's difficulties involved. It's difficult for others. When it's difficult for you, your pleasure that is appropriate and acceptable gets delayed. In perfectionists, you have a tendency, just like what you said, what is play, and that just fit right in. You delay pleasure too much. The other thing is that sometimes you get detail oriented to the point that you get bogged down. Details, they get too big for you, and sometimes that constant presence of your internal critic, it causes tension, it causes worry, and it affects your self-esteem. And for other people, sometimes being around a 1, even though you contain your anger, there is a real force that people can feel. They can feel you containing your anger, and that can be off-putting. Because that same critical mind that criticizes you is also critical of other people, and people feel that criticism. So that is some of the things that they say about.
And that's true.
Yeah.
And like I said, in trying to hide those feelings because of the consequences, that causes stress. But I'm learning to deal with trying. I don't know how you change that.
Right.
It's just learning to deal with it.
Right. And so maybe we can talk some more about that. But anyway, our time is up, and so thank you again so much for your time. I appreciate that, and I've enjoyed this.
Made me think a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
You're that person. Thank you.
Oh.